All right, my cool thing again. I got it back. I can do it once. Sharpshooter, Deadeye, hiya. 22 to hit.
Hits.
21 piercing.
Okay.
I'm doing my best, guys. I'm just.
We appreciate
There's
you
not
very
like a lot of
much.
cool flavor text. I'm just like fucking firing my guns.
Just pew-pewing.
And so just a regular attack now. That's a miss. It's 13 to hit.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
And now my secondary gun, 25 to hit.
That hits.
9 piercing.
Oof. Lena.
I'm going to bite him again. I'm going to try. I'm just going to keep trying.
I want you to know he has 1 HP.
19 to hit?
That hits.
8 piercing.
Kill
Yeah,
him.
I
Tell me how you
I-
kill him.
I want to... Okay, does he have like a neck?
He absolutely does.
Okay, I'm going to bite it, and I'm just going to like squeeze and thrash him around a whole bunch.
You definitely earned that kill.
I believe that the kids call that KS.
Not anyone else.
So you dig your mouth into its neck, just kind of underneath where it's got this sort of exterior shell that comes up across its back, and dig into it, bite through its neck. You're frustrated by your inability to hit it before this, and you just bite all the way through it, almost with ease, and its head has now come off, and it now like spills on the ground. There's like this green Icarus kind of liquid spilling out all over the place.
Gross.
The
but I
ice
like
dome fades, although there's still this cold air that's in its place for a short amount of time before it eventually fades as well, and you can exit where the dome was without incurring additional damage. But seemingly the Ice Devil has been defeated. And eventually the remnants of the dome and the frigid air all kind of just get swept up into the regular wind and coursing snow that fly through the area.
Whew, Cessian is pooped as hell. He's just like, I'm glad that's over. I don't have a lot more in me.
How's everyone doing? Said by the only person that was not in the dome.
I'll revert back to my human form. Well, I think the sooner we can leave, the better. I'd hate to see if there are more of those around.
Yeah, like, can we just... Should we... we're awake now. The horses are awake. Should we just get started early?
Well, if we do, I won't be able to put up much of a fight in the next battle. I'm almost out.
Okay, maybe we catch up on a bit more sleep and we can leave in the morning.
So, Karash, Isaac, you're going to resume your watch?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to spit out some blood, and I'm going to drag the remains of the head that were presumably ripped the hell off over near the fire, and begin cutting as much of the neck away as I can.
Okay. Helps pass the time. Keeps your mind off how cold it is.
Yep.
Last couple of hours before daylight, as it were, and you can, again, see that at least it becomes a lighter gray around you as opposed to this darkness that you've sort of been steeped in. You can tell that the sun has come up somewhere out there. It exists. You know that. And everybody can finally replenish their spell slots, half their hit dice, if you spent any in the shrine, etc., etc. You sleep a little bit past when you might normally like, but it's enough to get you to the full night's rest. So maybe it's like 8 or 9 in the morning instead of 6 or 7. But you also know that you have about 7 or 8 hours of journeying ahead of you to get back to Frosthaven. For the sake of expediency, everybody make me a perception check for the second leg of the journey.
I gotta spend some dice here.
I'm whooped. I got a 6.
18.
Sorry, I'm being bad.
21.
Perception. 11.
Okay. As you guys are journeying the second day, perhaps a little more wary after the encounter in the middle of the night from the morning prior here, essentially. Lena, you and Isaac in particular kind of have your wits about you where you're like, well, we're not doing a whole lot else anyways, but let's make sure we don't get ambushed by anything else like that, whatever that was. And as you guide the horses who are getting a little bit weary, for the record, in the direction of Frosthaven, you keep your wits about you as mentioned and don't hear any other creatures approaching you. Again, other than the wind picking up and howling at times, for the most part you can hear with relative certainty anything else around you, and it doesn't seem like anything else is approaching. And after the better part of the morning and part of the afternoon passes, when you get within a few hundred feet, you can finally see the walls on the exterior of Frosthaven again.
We're almost here.
The guards posted on the tower on that side of the building hail you as you approach. Say, well met, adventurers. You made it back in one piece. We don't see that very often here.
Yeah, it didn't make it bloody easy out there. This place is a hellhole.
You don't have to tell us, believe me. Every now and then a creature gets the bright idea to try and head into the city, and it takes a hell of a lot of us to fight it off.
Yeah, we ran into one of those.
I'm going to stick my head out and show them the head and ask them what it is.
Yeah.
What is this?
And they seem a little bit off-put for a half second, but they're like, oh, nasty creatures, those. We only see them maybe a couple of times a year, but seems like every time they show up, one or two of us don't make it out of the fight without at least some serious injuries. Hell, once every couple of years, a guard or two ends up dying fighting those damn things.
I'm not surprised. Hopefully we saved you a couple guards then. It wasn't easy to take down.
Do you know what it is?
We don't know a whole lot about it. We just call the damn things ice devils. Because it's a fitting name, really. So,
Ice devil indeed.
some kind of magic they have at their disposal that can create ice, and they isolate some of us, and nasty business, that.
It's a fitting name for this hell on earth.
Yeah, it's certainly takes a person of a certain constitution to want to live out here. No question. But somebody's got to do it, right?
No.
I don't know. I'll take your word for it. I'd rather die, I think, but
Hey, I don't know why people decided to make this a place where they wanted to stay long term, but our job is to be in defense of them, and that's what we'll do.
When all of this is done, I am never going to leave my island again.
I could go. I might never leave your island either, Karash. Sounding pretty good about now.
You would be welcome, but our life is not very exciting. Not
It's
a lot of
okay. I
books.
think I'm going to have enough excitement after this. Portals and magic and
Can we have this conversation somewhere else?
We're not the ones driving the horses.
Yes, perhaps we should enter the city now.
I have the idea that since Lena wasn't talking, she was driving the horses the whole time. So you're having a conversation as you pass. You're like, yeah, this is this head. Oh, it's
Probably.
over here. Yeah, I don't know why everyone's not here either. Oh.
I would have slowed down for the conversation
Yeah.
a little bit, but
go ahead.
As you hold up, after you're having shown the head, by the way, one of them mentions that you should go to the steel poker. Show them that you have slain one of the creatures, and there might be some reward in it for you.
Ooh, yes.
yeah.
I won't turn it down.
So
Agreed, it would help pay for the costs.
it is, at this point, because it's not nearly as bad as far as the snowfall out here, you can sort of see the sun behind what is still some cloud cover, but it's actually at least visible enough where you can be like, might be about 4 in the afternoon or so, maybe 5. And you know about the general store and the tavern. You were there on your first day here. The steel poker is something else entirely, but you could ask around about that. Where would you guys like to head?
Immediately to the dock to see what the ferry schedule looks like, just so we don't miss a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
To fast forward a bit just to get through it, the person there at the docks tells you essentially that there will be another cargo boat coming and going tomorrow morning, but that the one has already completed its journey for the day. Because in general, they try not to keep them docked in Frosthaven because it's cold as balls and it hurts the exterior of the ship.
And the balls.
Yes.
And
So
gotta protect the
usually
balls.
it's not completely unheard of for a ship to stay there overnight, but usually they go round trip from Fort Cross here and then back and then stay there until the next day.
gotcha.
So it will probably take you staying here for the night and then leaving in the morning.
Well, then make sure we can get room and board. Basically, taking care of those amenities before we go hunting down a place that can pay us.
Okay.
It's Tessian's thing.
You're already familiar with Thomas Stoutman at the Powder Keg. He can set you up with rooms again for 5 gold apiece, so 20. And can direct you in the direction of the Steel Poker if you guys mention it to him.
Yeah, probably would.
Tells you about basically it doesn't really stick out like the general store, which is pretty large, or even his establishment, which is also one of the bigger buildings. But you head this direction down this street, and keep an eye out for like a basic brick building, big windows and hedges that look out of control, and send you off in that direction essentially. Everybody going?
Yeah, once I've covered the cost for the inn and stuff, so we can go there and check it out.
Okay. You guys make your way across the city. The exterior, or I guess the outside of the town, essentially is basically what you saw the day before. Very few people out and about. It's still cold as hell. But at this point, having been through the journey that you were, this almost feels old hat. You're not warm, but at least back in town where the winds are much less severe and everything is less harsh, you're like, this is not nothing, but I'm kind of used to this. And as you guys make your way over to the Steel Poker, you see the building as described, relatively unassuming from the outside, but big windows and only somewhat covered by those bushes that are just out of control on the outside. Doesn't seem like somebody much cares about them. It's interesting because you can see kind of like little pieces of ice on the leaves of these bushes and whatnot, but they seem like they're meant to weather this type of climate. Like they can still grow despite how cold everything is here. Even from the windows from the outside, because they're a decent size, you can see there is a large hearth on the inside with a dragon's skull hanging over it. You can see the forge on the interior. The Steel Poker appears to be a blacksmith. And as you guys enter, there is a male gnome working in the forge as you enter the building. Even with the clothes he has on, you can see he's in excellent shape. Like, this dude is yoked. Shaved
Yoked
head.
gnome, baby.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's built.
smooth up
Swole.
type.
Oh, yeah,
You
his-
want to go for?
Yeah, he's shaved up top.
I
Has
got no neck.
a pretty heavy 5 o'clock shadow, although it's still not the elaborate facial hair you've seen in your limited experience with gnomes. Seems like he doesn't want that dangling over the fire. And the forge inside makes this room pleasantly warm. So as a change, it hits you as you walk in. Even when you just open the door, it's like,
Oh my god, this is so much better. Can we sleep here tonight?
He looks up as you guys enter. Says, "Hello there. Alston Meckelfurs. What can I do for you?"
Tessian will
Kill
walk
the
up.
king.
Yeah. Tessian will be like, we are the Order of the Black Opal, sir, on a quest of our own, but we stumbled upon one of these and were sent in your direction.
Ah, you got one of those sons of bitches, did you?
That we did.
Well,
She did it.
Yes.
She's just like, hi.
I did. Kind of looks you over and says, "Well, we'll take any help we can get here. I'll tell you that much." Guard sent you my way, then, did they?
They did.
Well, we don't exactly have a bounty on these things because we don't want people going out and hunting them, but we have always promised a reward if anybody can take one of the sons of bitches out, so hold on a second. And he goes back from the forge and heads back into some workshop or back area and comes back out a moment later with 1,500 gold pieces.
Damn.
Nice.
Hey, do we want me to just hold on to him for the time being? Or
Probably,
Yes.
Oh.
I do not want money on my position.
Says it's a hefty reward, but as much trouble as those things cause whenever they come over here a few times a year, we're happy to be rid of one of them. So take it with my gratitude.
Smith, do you have anything that can actually damage these things? My sword did very little.
He says, well, for a price, we can treat them with sort of a compound. We can make them silvered, and the creatures seem like their hide isn't as resistant to them. They can cut through it more easily that way. Of course, if you have magical weapons, that might do the trick too, but I don't really have anything like that out here, unfortunately.
I will accept that. What is the cost?
Well,
And
it took me...
can it be done in a day?
Oh, yes, that is a matter point.
He says, well, if you're willing to leave them here overnight, I could probably have them ready first thing.
The cost is then what? Mumble.
Just yours then? Anyone else?
I don't suppose you know anything about making bullets here, do you?
He thinks for a second. He says, I've seen a few guns come through here over time, but it's not really something that I'm especially familiar with. I could coat some of your bullets in silver, take something that exists and modify it, but I don't know if I could build them from scratch.
Yeah, let's do that. How about, let's see, and I kind of rummage through, and I say, 12 should do it, just as a backup if we run into anything with that sort of resistance again.
Gives you a nod and takes those. Let's see then, for a sword and some of these bullets, silver them, kind of a rush job, but you did do a good thing for the city. I could do it for 40 gold.
Certainly.
Yeah, please. That sounds great.
It's a bit trifling compared to the rewards you just got, but hey, gotta eat somehow, right?
You should eat food.
Well, I'll do that, although it's going to take me most of the evening to get these done, but like I said, why not? That way, in case you guys ever get the fool idea about going back out there, you'll be equipped to kill some more of them.
I do not have that desire at all. Ever.
I don't blame you. There's a reason I outfit people to go out there, and I don't do it myself.
Smart man.
Anything else you'd like to do here? You can leave those with him. He'll work on them. Just try not to go too late in case the viewer's wondering. I'm not trying to fast forward, but, you know.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I mean, I think we looked around. There are no bookshops. I think I did all that last time. It's a pretty small little community, so there's not much more to do.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of people here. Like population-wise, it's pretty large, but it seems like people out here are not cultured. Sounds so diminutive, but you know what I mean. Like they're not really out here for the more recreational purposes of life. They're out here to escape something else or for some other purpose that's unclear. The one thing I will say as you guys sort of walk back to the powder keg is it's becoming apparent over time. Well, you haven't been here long, but you've been a few treks around the city at this point. There are very few half-elves here and almost no elves. You can't really tell for certain because they have the distinct ears and a couple other characteristics, but as you've been just kind of keeping an eye on the people that you do see walking about the city, it seems as though that population is not non-existent, but a lot lower than you'd expect because humans, half-elves, elves are generally the primary population of almost every other city you've been in, and that's not the case here.
Huh.
Just food for thought.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They're
Powder-
racists.
Could be. Who knows? Powder Keg is also welcoming and warm. Still has that same kind of magical warmth to it in addition to the large, like almost oversized fireplace and the tables with the heaters underneath. What would you guys like to do with the evening, if anything? Read a book, work on writing?
Throughout the afternoon, I'm going to spend some extra time with the horses because they just made like a major journey and they're a little weary and sad. So I'm going to spend some extra time with them. And then in the evening, I'll write in the magic scroll and update it with the second shrine and our journey and kind of what we experienced in there generally.
And I will try to do a nice detailed charcoal sketch of the ice devil to warn anybody that may be coming to this region not to, you know.
Exactly.
I'm gonna try to work on a new God, I wish I knew anything about guns in real life. Like the casing where the bullets go into. so that it can fit new pieces in. I don't know anything about actually connecting that to the main gun or aligning the runes or anything like that. But I just want to start seeing like, okay, how would this work? Spacing it to where you're getting 2 extra bullet holes in what is basically the same space.
So you're trying to expand the chamber?
Yeah, but with some of the tools and stuff that I have been picking up along the way and not like actually working on the gun itself.
Well, your gun is it's not like a flintlock, is it?
It's a revolver.
So you would need to add extra circles. You need to make the revolving part larger.
Yeah. Well, but I'm trying to not, because if I just make it larger, I don't know if it's going to like fit into the gun and like the rest of the casing. So I want to try to do the math to where I'm splitting, and it's probably going to take a few test runs, which is why I'm working on this now, but making it even, but with 2 more holes in it. But so that's still enough between each hole. You get what I'm saying?
So you're trying to take like the circular revolver part and basically you want to fashion a new one with instead of 6, like 8 or something like that?
Yeah.
You just try and swap out the cylinder.
Yeah, that's
Cylinder,
what you would be
thank
doing.
you, yeah. So eventually swapping it out, but same size, but with 2 more holes. And then I can start worrying about, okay, what about the magic component and all of that? But just early work.
You can at least start drawing up some sort of design sketches and the like. Without a proper workshop, even attempting a test run is going to be nigh impossible. You have some tools at your disposal to help repair the guns. You can maybe make rudimentary bullets with it, but something of that nature is going to be far beyond what you can do in a hotel room.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can at least put a little groundwork on it.
Thinking about it now would be,
Yeah. So you
good.
can at least kind of put some groundwork on the first level.
I know I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot until I meet the people that our first friend, everybody's friend, not just
Luca.
my friend, referred me to. But like until then, I can at least start thinking about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you're curious at all, what you're asking for is theoretically possible, but depending on how your gun is structured, it would require significant changes, like to the frame, not just the cylinder. Just FYI.
Yeah, that's
In
also
case
why.
you're curious at all about gun system.
And you would be familiar enough with your guns, even though you haven't built them per se, but you know them well enough to know that like this is possible, but it's going to take someone of considerable skill to then not ruin other components of the weapon. And obviously, because these are sort of one of a kind, it's going to be something that requires some very meticulous and careful work.
Yeah.
So it's all the more reason, like, and again, you can be thinking about it, we'll work on it, so it'll count towards that, but like, you almost wouldn't want to mess with it in a spot like this because you have almost nothing at your disposal. It would be a huge risk.
Well, and no matter what, I was going to say, I'm definitely not working on the actual gun yet. That's...
Yeah. Because, yeah, if
That's
that would
a very bad idea.
You know full well that would be a disaster.
Yeah.
That would be roll a natural 20 or your gun's probably broken.
Forever.
The cylinder is set to spin in motion with the gun, so it's a certain rotation. If you just start adding holes, you're not aligning anything.
No, right. I mean,
properly.
that's
Yeah.
part of
It'll
the
be a
whole
whole
thing.
but
Yeah.
it is possible. Okay, anybody else do anything with their evening? That's Lena and Isaac.
I am going to mingle.
Really?
I'm gonna ask around about Blue Dragonborn, and I'll actually ask around about why it is there are so many of why I see so few not elves in this area. If elves just don't like the cold or what?
Okay. Make a persuasion check.
I will be persuasive.
Tessie, what are you up to?
Gonna probably read after I'm done doing the charcoal sketch. I'm gonna keep hitting my books.
Okay, make an Arcana check.
11sies.
Okay.
13.
You were a third of the way into the second book, is that right?
A third of the way through the second book. Yes, I believe it's correct.
With the better part of the evening at your disposal, a few hours at least, I would say 13 is probably just enough to finish the second book.
Okay.
Barely. Only because you've gotten a little more used to the pace of the reading at this point, and the material's making a little bit more sense, so it's faster going.
Lena's like trying to meditate, and I just got the candle going. I'm finishing up the book.
Yeah.
Karash, as you are sort of talking to people in the lobby, I could play it out, but again, we're trying to wrap up. So essentially, you're told that there are 3 different Blue Dragonborn that have been seen in this area and also Fort Cross, although no one's certain if they live on one side or the other, if they commute regularly, if they're around these parts, but they're not sure if they have a residence in Frosthaven or otherwise. I think you already had the name of one of them. The names of the three are Persis, Percys, Goravroth, Gora Vroth, and Wargar, Worgar. 2 males and a female. The female is Persis. That have been seen doing work in the city of Frosthaven, down at the docks. So the people that you talk to, at least who are among the clientele in the powder cake at the time, talk about how they're not sure if they work on one of the ships that goes to and from, and maybe they spend some time on both sides, but that they are generally together, that they seem to work together as a unit of some kind. But nobody has seen them in Frosthaven for at least the last couple of days. As far as the elves and half-elves, the general sense you get talking to a handful of people as you're just cozying up to them, maybe having a drink or two, is that while elves and half-elves are not unwelcome here, the climate seems to be especially harsh for them, but there's also some other reason where they have never really lived in this city in force. They tell you... Oh, God. Hold on. Should have had the map up. I want to make sure I give you the right name, though. There's the map. That the majority of elves and half-elf kind on the western part of the continent in particular have decided to hold up in a place called Thorngrove. It is a forest just outside of the Alizarin Desert, and for some reason they have gathered there and not in Frosthaven. They're still in places like Waychester. You'd seen some in Fort Cross, so it wasn't like anything else put you off there. But for some reason they have never gravitated here, and they have gathered in a place called the Thorngrove where it's pretty much only elvish kind. They're not entirely sure why that's the case, but that's what they've sort of heard when these are folks that have lived here, so they're kind of telling you about how, like, traditionally this is this way, and we're not really sure why, but it's never been a large part of the population, and that's kind of the sense you get from having a conversation with them.
I'll share that information with the rest of people as I see them.
Okay. You guys get another night's rest, a full night's rest in beds, in rooms that are actually mostly warm. It does drop a little bit at night. Even the magical effects seem like as the exterior gets colder, it takes its toll inside, but it's still comfortable enough inside where it's completely nice compared to the last 2 nights. Everybody can get back their spell slots you didn't spend today, etc., etc. Lena, I'm assuming you would like to meditate.
Yes, I would.
So make a nature check.
Okay. Eight. The cold, man. I hate it up here.
As you focus your efforts now, you're back on civilization, still on the other side, on this peninsula, as opposed to the mainland. South. A lot south? Far south. 600 miles south? Real south. But you still don't have this really strong sense, like something is just distracting you, or you're not really connecting in the way that you had hoped, or maybe it's just too far to get a strong sense of exactly where this next shrine might be. But at least you have a vague direction, and now that you're out here, at least you feel like, okay, well, it feels like it's relatively due south of your current position. Now, there's an entire swath of land that could relate to, but knowing it's out there a ways, if you talk with Tessian about it, he might help you pinpoint it a little bit.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
There's the desert, the Illusory Desert that was just mentioned. Even Thorngrove is technically south, and a little to the east of the desert is there's a coast, a haunted coast. I don't know. I'm sure Tessian knows it a little better than I got maps.
You got
but
maps.
I got maps. There's land down there, but if that's the case, it's looking like maybe we're going from the cold to the heat. At least if the desert is any indication.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, we do have people that we might be able to catch up with down there. Tessian will mention that. Oh, I don't remember her name. But the red-haired woman
A deep pull. Yep.
that we met at the very beginning of the game. Remember, she sat down. We played music together. Her sister runs a place out there in the illusion. There's a place out there, and I'm blanking its name, but there's like a last point, like a safe haven.
End.
Hope's End. There you go. That's out there, and we could check in there at the very least if we need an ally out in the desert. So.
All right. Yeah.
That's a nice thing. You guys can have that conversation because you're sharing a room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Myrna was her name. To pull her sister, I'd have to go to a whole other section of the notes. But
I think I have it in my notes. I just don't have my note in front of me. But it's like first page. It happened that first session we got together.
Yep, and that's indeed the right person, and you know the gist of them and all that. So yeah, all that is correct.
Cool.
I remember Myrna. I don't remember the sister. It's in a different section. So, okay, so that's essentially what happens at the end of the night, and then you sleep and wake up the next morning, and it's awful nice to be in bed again after that 48 hours in particular, or almost 72 really. You guys can head out to the docks and catch a ride.
Come on, catch a ride.
Catch a ride. This is where the cars live. Come get you one. And make your way back across the sea. And the trip goes without incident. There's not a lot in these waters, although they do mention there was a hydra at one point, like a couple years ago. But you don't see a hydra.
Just looking out now.
Yeah. What?
I got it in my head. I'm like, what? No.
Yeah. Don't say that.
I'm looking for hydras.
The Sentry Hawk escorts you back to Fort Cross. And there, after having gotten passage from Captain Bradford, who's now familiar at this point, you can make your way back to Waychester if you so desire. Just have to take the carts and the horses. She gives you a similar discount.
How are we doing on time for the trial? How long was that day for? I wasn't keeping track.
So you had about 8 or 9 days left, and that took about 6 or 7. You got about 2 days left.
Okay.
Once you get back to Waychester, you'll have a couple of days to do any last-minute prep or anything else you might want to do. We'll discuss that off camera to set it up for next time. But that is essentially the end of this session, unless there's something you guys desperately wanted to do in the interim. But I don't want to be like, you can't do anything at Fort Cross, stop. But there's not a lot to do there.
There's a lot of military. Base. Yeah, we weren't really allowed to go very many places, so...
By design.
I mean, were there any rumors? Were they like, oh yeah, we just got raided by orcs last night? Like, nothing crazy? I don't know.
Business as usual, seems like.
Okay.
But again, for the most part, Fort Cross has never actually come under siege because it's extremely well fortified and staffed. And it would be kind of suicidal to just go in there and be like, yeah, we're just going to take you on in your own base. So for the most part, they get by pretty easily up there.
Well, there are benefits to laying low since we have someone under arrest, so I don't know that we should be poking the bear too much yet.
Yeah. Hear about Faust Dryden? Hey, you hear about Faust Dryden? Hey, Faust Dryden.
Hey, I heard he got arrested. Did you know that?
Yeah, did you know we did it? We did it. You want to... raise your hand. So that is the end of this session. Next time, back in Waychester, there might be a trial. And it might be on the matter of Faust Dryden and his crimes against humanity.
Hold it!
And
or Grandma's sweet tea, and we all die.
Sure.
That's a Justice League reference that hopefully no one understood, because you didn't see that movie.
Objection!
What's the Justified one? That was what's that family's name? Shit. They had that special apple cider that like melts your insides.
Oh, I'm thinking of Batman vs Superman too. God,
yeah. What the hell, Jason?
Jesus.
Anyways, see you next time.